So, hello and welcome to this episode of Crime Attack. I hope all are well fine. Today's story is about how hijacker hijacked Royal passenger plane. But the main challenge was to steal 3 boxes present inside a plane. But stealing that boxes had some issues with it. First one, that you can't steal it before plane takeoff, else will be caught at the airport. And if you steal it after that, then the next time the plane lands at the airport, then you will be caught. So next idea was to steal in the midair. Well, the second idea was to land the plane where there is no airport. But main concern was to where can the plane be landed without an airport. And even if you land it, it would be a joke. Because apart from the runway, wherever plane lands, it is dangerous and it could crash. But this whole conspiracy idea failed, as it was not possible from the airport. So this plane had to be landed without an airport runway, so that this mysterious 3 boxes can be stolen easily. And this would be the first hijacking story in Nepal's history. Until now, Nepal has only 2 hijacking stories. One Kandha, AK-814, which flew from Kathmandu to Delhi. It was hijacked and taken to Kandha. But today, we are talking about Nepal's first hijacking. On 10th June 1973, Royal Nepal Airlines had a small plane with 19-seater flying from Nepal's Biratnagar airport to Kathmandu. There were total 19 people in this 19-seater plane with crew members. So at 10 June 1973, around 8:30 I'm from Biratnagar airport. This 1973, around 8:30, I'm from Biratnagar. Plane flies, and it has to reach Kathmandu in about 40 minutes after takeoff. But after exactly 5 minutes of takeoff, suddenly 3 people stand up from the seats of the passengers, and 2 of them go straight to the cockpit of pilots. After reaching the cockpit, they took pistol out from their back, pointing towards the pilot. Pilots were scared, they didn't understand what was happening. Meanwhile, third person stand up from seat with hand grenade in his hand. Announcement was made to all the passengers and crew members to remain seated on their seats. If anyone protested, they would crash the plane. Hearing this, passengers got scared. Now in cockpit, 2 hijackers took control of the plane at gunpoint. Now the pilots are flying plane, but hitchhikers are controlling their every action. After some time, one of the hijackers takes out a paper with map on the paper. Map is put in front of the pilot, and pilots are asked to fly the plane according to this map direction. When the pilot saw the map, he was surprised. He said that this map is on India's side, that is Bihar. Pilot warns that this route isn't there on list, but hijacker threatens pilot to do as asked, or the plane passengers will be in great danger. Now, the pilot turns the plane in helplessness and starts flying. As soon as he enters the border of Bihar, there is a place in Bihar called Farbusganj. When the plane is flying near Farbusganj, one of the hijacker says to pilot says, "Look down and you will see a field of grass. Land this plane on the field of grass." The pilot lost his mind and said that he could only land at the airport. This is a 19-seater plane, and if we land it in any such terrain, the plane balance could be ruined. It would crash. But the hijackers were adamant. They said, "No, you have to land in this farmland. There is no other option. And if they don't listen to hijackers, pilot will be shot, including the passengers." The pilot was helpless. He had no other option. He looked down and saw a place with a long field of grass. The pilot looked at the field and said, "Let's land here." One could think it was a joke, because anything could have happened. But still the pilot tried, as he was helpless. He had a gun on his head. After that, the plane slowly came down with great difficulty. There were some villages around that field where people got scared seeing the plane flying down so low. Some people come out of the house looking at it in a shock. The plane slowly lands on the ground. The crowd of the villagers slowly starts moving towards the ground to see the plane from close. But to shock where plane landed, a jeep was standing in ready to move position. There were at least 2 to 3 vehicles. After landing, all 3 hijackers got behind the plane, where the 3 boxes were present. They picked up the boxes one by one. So far, the passengers didn't understand why the plane was hijacked. No demand, no other thing. The plane was taken to the ground. The 3 boxes were picked up by the 3 hijackers and taken down from the plane. After getting down, they told the pilot that you are free to go wherever you want. Some people were waiting outside in the car. They came running and helped to pick up the box. All 3 boxes were kept in the car, and then the 3 cars caravan moved away from there. For a while, the pilot and other people didn't understand anything. Then they contacted the local administration, and after a while they reached Kathmandu. At that time, royal monarchy was in Nepal. There was no democracy in Nepal. It is 1973. Now, a plane landed on the lands of India instead of the airport. The pilot wrote a complaint. The local administration came forward. Here, all this information is now realigned with New Delhi. When this news reached Delhi, people in the government were surprised, as if someone hijacked the plane, took it off the ground, and only 3 guns were taken, and no one was harmed, no demand, nothing, and they ran away. They did not harm anyone. Investigation began. So the first thing we came to know was that the 3 boxes in the Royal Nepal Airlines had 30 lakh rupees in 1973. It was Indian currency, 30 lakhs rupees. 30 lakhs was very valuable in the 70s. So the whole game was to steal these 30 lakhs. But why? And by putting life in danger. So when the investigation progressed, it was found that these 30 lakhs were from India. It went to Nepal through the road of Biratnagar. The money, that was government to government deal. The money was meant for Nepal public from Indian side. This money was sent to Nepal from Indian state Bihar by cars from where reached to Biratnagar in Nepal. 3 boxes which had 30 lakhs then was kept in this Royal Nepal Airlines, and it was being taken to Kathmandu. Then it would be transferred to National Bank, which can be used by royal monarch to run the government. So, thus, 30 lakhs were sent from Bihar's Araria to Biratnagar and from there to Kathmandu. But the plane was hijacked and taken to Farbazganj in Bihar, and with people were missing from all 3 boxes. Now, where these people started? Who could they be? Where they kept on moving. Slowly. The first arrest happened, then the second, then the third. After this, the names started coming on by one. Then strange story came out. The story was that in 1973 in Nepal, many parties were fighting for democracy, and there was royal monarch. Many parties were against it. People were also worried, because there, through the Panchayat Raj system, there was a lot of power in the hands of the royal family, and they had a lot of decision making. So many parties were calling out for democracy. The Nepali Congress was protesting the rise of this royal family in the 70s, and this movement was going on all over Nepal. To run this movement, you need money. First, this movement continued with the donations of people. But then the situation in Nepal got so bad that people were forced to donate money. Now the question is how to run this movement. The movement also needed weapons. Where do we get them from? The movement also needs to feed the workers. Where do we buy the grains? So all these things were going on. Many people from Nepali Congress were in jail. In a message, Anita Girija Prasad was in Kerala. During the revolt against the Rajshahi, the government was suppressing them, so he was also in jail for a few days. During those days, there was a meeting in jail with a person named Girija Swabedi. Girija Swabedi was also a revolutionary, and a revolutionary who was against the Rajshahi of Nepal. He was also a part of this movement, and that's why he was put in jail. So when he met Girija Prasad Koirala, he said that now the movement needs money to run. I don't understand from where to arrange it. So coincidentally, when Girija Swabedi was in jail and had no work, he was reading books. When this conversation was going on, A few days before that, he had finished a book of hijacking story. How hijacking happened in Japan, and it was for money. In return for hijacking, the hijackers demanded money, and the demand was fulfilled. It is said that he gave this idea to Girija Prasad Koirala, that if we hijack a plane, we can get money through it. But the point is that if we hijack a plane, we will put the lives of the passengers in danger and will not take money. Why? Because we are fighting for democracy. How can we target the people? This is a bad idea. The treasury of the Royal Treasury, in which the money goes to the Bank of Nepal, that money is transported by the plane, and we should find out about the plane in which the money is transported. And the day there is a large amount in it, we should hijack that plane. Now the question is, who is the person in that bank who can tell us whether the money is going or not? So, now they started searching. So, the people working in Nepal's National Bank meet another person. And that person's name was Mahendra Ariel. He tells that he was also a Protestant. He used to follow the Nepali Congress. He said that he will contribute to the protest for the liberation of democracy, that he will give the right input. And one day, Mahendra Ariel told that 30 lakh rupees was coming from Araria in Bihar. Flight is at 8:30 am for Kathmandu. In 3 boxes, there is 30 lakh rupees. That is 10 lakh rupees in one box will be deposited in Kathmandu and then in the National Bank of Kathmandu. So they have about 40 minutes. News reached them on 9th June, on 10th June. The flight was at 8 am. The takeoff was at 8:30 am from Biratnagar to Kathmandu. So it was decided that who would be the hijackers in this plane. So 3 hijackers are chosen were revolutionaries. One was Basant Bhattarai, the other was Durga Sabai, who gave the idea of going to Japan hijacking, and the third was Mahendra Prasad Koirala. These 3 were the ones who boarded the plane. Now, what happened was that they would take the money from there. So the planning was done. An Indian citizen who was also helping the Nepali Congress, his name was Nagesh Sharma. He used to live in Darjeeling. So this happened that this plane was hijacked and taken to the Farbazganj of Bihar. From there, it would be easy to go to Darjeeling through the road. Now, here was a question that after hijacking the plane, could it be taken to Bihar at any airport? The hijackers thought about it. But then it happened that if the plane is hijacked and then taken to any state airport, and the airport authority will be aware of it, then the plane will be surrounded by security personnel. After that, the police will not let it go so easily. So there is more danger there. That is why the plane should land in a place where there is no authority or police. And until the administration goes and finds out, they would have already left. Farbazganj has a long field area. The map of this plane was made on paper and told the pilot to bring it here. We will see what happens next. Ganesh Sharma was responsible for the Farbazganj field. Ganesh Sharma arranged the 3 boxes for the vehicles. Then these vehicles arrived in Darjeeling with money. Then everyone left Darjeeling and they reached Benares. Then they went from Benares to Mumbai. After going to Mumbai, they invested 30 lakh rupees to reach Nepal. Now all these people went back to Delhi. The reason for reaching Delhi was that the big leaders of the Nepali Congress were often living in Delhi. The Indian government was also helping the Nepali Congress in the protests that were going on in Nepal. So the president of the Nepali Congress, Girija Koirala, he was in Delhi. So the rest came here and met with him. Manisha Koirala's grandfather is BP Koirala, who was the president of Nepal Congress in 1973 and was in Delhi. The elder brother of BP Koirala, Girija Prasad Koirala, who was the mastermind of this hijacking, and the younger brother of B. Koirala. His name is Mahendra Prasad Koirala. Now these 3, whether it is BP Koirala, who himself was the Prime Minister of Nepal from 1959 to 1960, then he became the President of the Nepali Congress. Then the elder brother of the Prime Minister, when he started to open the pages of this conspiracy, one by one, they were arrested. And Girija Prasad Koirala was also arrested. He was also put in jail. It was 1973. Here, the 75th emergency was put in place in Indira Gandhi's time. So in 1976, in fact, in the end of 1975, during the emergency, Girija Prasad Koirala and the rest of the people involved in this hijacking were released on bail. After this, they returned to Nepal one by one and made the movement in Nepal stronger. After some time, the Rajahai is bowed down and the democracy is, and when Lopatan's government was formed, there was a man named Sushil Koirala who also stayed in jail. He also stayed in jail for a long time, and then he went to Nepal. After going to Nepal, he also became the Prime Minister. After that hijacking, the plane returned to Nepal, and for the next 41 years, this plane kept flying. 19-seater plane. When people saw this plane, they thought it was hijacked and it was taken down to the ground. It served for 41 years. But in February 2014, the same plane of the Royal Nepal Airlines, which was hired from Biratnagar to Kathmandu and crashed. That day, 18 people were killed in this plane. So this was the strange story in which 3 boxes had to be removed from a plane, but it was not allowed to land at any airport, and the boxes had to be taken away. And those who took part in the hijacking, they did not become terrorists or criminals, but became the prime ministers of that country.